Most of us were taught to treat wealth like a finish line, a number to hit, a milestone that would make us feel finally secure. But let me ask you something. If money were the answer, then why do so many successful women still feel anxious, disconnected, or like it's never quite enough? Here's what I've learned. Wealth isn't something that you arrive at. It's something that you're in relationship with. And just like any other relationship, it reflects how safe you feel with trust, with consistency, with power, and with receiving support. Today, we're shifting the entire conversation around money away from chasing goals and towards understanding the relationship that you're actually having with wealth. Because you can hit every single number on your vision board and still feel unsafe. Or you can learn how to relate to money in a way that creates calm, stability, and sustainable expansion. If you've ever wondered why more money didn't equal more peace, this episode will change the way that you see wealth forever. Welcome to the podcast. If you are someone who watches regularly or listens regularly, I'm recording from a different spot today. And it's interesting. I felt very called. I'm recording from my bedroom, if you can't tell if you're watching the video. I felt very called to come up here to record today. Now, this is not where I normally record my content, so I don't have my normal mic and all the normal equipment. So I trust and know that the sound is going to be good enough for the podcast, and that's okay. But the view here is different than what I see down below in my office when I'm recording here at the house. So we have a studio that I set up and am continuing to build out in the downtown area of my city, which is Portland, Maine. And I love recording there. And I'm excited because we're building out a really beautiful in-person recording studio. In the meantime, I generally record from my home, and I generally record from my home office, which is downstairs. So you may have seen some of my episodes from there. And today, as I was about to record, it was this strong message of go upstairs, go upstairs. And I thought, why in the world do I want to go upstairs and record from up here? And it was so interesting. I pulled a card for one of my private clients this morning. So Thursday, the day I'm recording this is when I coach a lot of my private clients. And sometimes on my private client calls, I feel called to bring cards on for them, like oracle cards. And we just have fun and we pull them, but they're always spot on for the client. And so I have fun with it, and I've learned to trust it and enjoy it. And I pulled an oracle card for this client that said view from above or view from the top. It was something like that. And it talked about the importance of seeing the big picture with things. And that's why I believe I felt called to come up here and record this episode. I am making some major wealth moves in my life, like right now as I record this, that push the past self-concept I held of myself, where I am doing things that the former version of me would have been extremely uncomfortable with. And we must have a big picture of what's actually going on, a big picture view of our lives, of where we're going, not just where we've been, when we are recalibrating our relationship with wealth and with money, which is really about recalibrating your relationship with yourself. So from up here, higher up in our home, I have this beautiful view outside of this gorgeous, expansive front yard. And it's different from the home we used to live in. The home we lived in before this, we bought knowing that at some point it would be a rental property. And it was beautiful, like gorgeous home, beautiful family neighborhood, really enjoyed it. Ended up moving out of it way faster than we expected. We were only there about a year and a half. And then we found out we were pregnant again. And I said, we're getting a bigger home. I don't care. So we moved into this home, which in many ways was my dream home. Very, very similar to one that was on my vision board years before we ever moved to Maine, which is beautiful. But so I've got this gorgeous view from up here in the bedroom, and there's a lot of light, and that's one of the things I love about this home. There's a lot of light, a lot of windows. And the view coming in is so much more elevated and expansive. And I'm looking into this beautiful protected woodland in front of our home. And it's a view from above. And so that's what we're going to do today as we have this conversation about wealth is we're going to look at it from a bigger picture standpoint. We're going to look at your relationship with it from a bigger picture standpoint and from the perspective of your highest self, not your human mind that believes in lack and limitation. This is really big and really important. So let's start by talking about why goals in and of themselves don't create sustainable wealth. So goals in and of themselves, that's how I used to think about my money. I would always have a goal of something next, something bigger. And it was actually around that time that I felt like I was always staying stuck, no matter what. This was before I discovered this material and embodied it on a deeper level. And I stayed stuck at about the same level financially for about 10 years, no matter how hard I worked. But I would always set a higher goal and set a higher goal. And so with that, I was never focusing on my relationship with money or my relationship with myself, which I think is part of why it didn't work. Now, some people will have a pattern of maybe hitting a number and then immediately moving the goalpost, right? Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Bob Proctor had this beautiful quote where he said, goals are not to get, goals are to grow. So we do want to be consistently expanding. We do want to be consistently moving the needle so that you can experience more of the fullness of who you are. I think that's important. But if it's in an energy of not enoughness, if it's in an energy of scarcity, then it's not going to do the job that you're hoping it's going to do. We can also associate our worth with milestones. This is a really big thing. And this is something that I coach and work with clients on all the time. I find it both with my male and female clients, to be honest, but I really work on it a lot of times with my male clients too, where the reason they'll want to hit a certain number in their business or in their sales is actually for validation. It's to feel like they're good enough. And when you're setting the goal with that in mind, okay, when I do this, then I'll feel good enough, which is how I used to always do my goals in corporate America. And then as an entrepreneur, you're never going to feel good enough because it's not actually about the number. It's about you and your relationship with yourself. When you do the work to come into a place of wholeness, to come into a place of self-love, to come into an awareness that you are abundance, that it's something you generate from the inside out, and it has nothing to do with the amount of money that's in the bank, your relationship with that shifts dramatically. One of the things I always say is your level of income will never exceed your level of self-worth. Your level of income will never exceed your level of self-worth. And so if you are saying, I'm going to make $1 million this year because then I'll finally feel good enough, well, either you'll do it and you won't feel good enough, or you won't do it because you don't feel good enough for it. Does that make sense? The other pattern that I see a lot of, especially driven, high-achieving entrepreneurs and sales professionals having, is feeling behind even when they're successful. So no matter how successful you become, you always feel behind. There's always a feeling of not enoughness. It's never good enough. You're judging yourself. You're beating up on yourself. So with these patterns, you can hit every single goal and you can still feel unsafe with money or unworthy of money. Wealth is a relationship just like anything else. Money is a relationship just like anything else. And that relationship grows when there's trust, which means you trust yourself with how you flow and circulate it. You trust yourself to bring more in. Consistency, it's a stable, consistent part of your life. Now, that's a belief system you have to form before it will be your experience. This is one of the things I work with my clients on a lot. And this is one of the biggest shifts in my own life. I used to not feel like I could rely on money. It felt unpredictable. It felt like I couldn't necessarily feel like relax into it or feel safe with it. I never knew if it was coming in or not. When I decided to make money a constant for me, and I decided it just is, just like for me, I know I'm a woman. I don't question it. It's not something I have to affirm. It's not something I think about. I just know. What if money just was for you the same way anything else is in your life? That's the energy of consistency that will create a consistent flow to and through you. It can't just be to you without you being willing to release and circulate. It has to be a both and. But it's that energy that you have to create first, where money just is automatic. It's assumed, it's default, and there's no questioning it. Then that will become your experience. I was working with our group of consultants a couple weeks ago, and one of our consultants is a really, really cool woman. a high net worth, former Mrs. America, just awesome, awesome woman. And she works in financial services in addition to getting her coaching certification and everything she's doing through us. And one of the beliefs that I think it was her grandmother instilled in her early on was that money just is like money is always there. There's always enough money for what you need. And because of that, she has built a beautiful, lucrative, luxurious life that a lot of people would look at and say, like, wow, that's a dream life. But I want you to hear that that belief was planted in her subconscious mind from a very young age. Now, many of us may not have grown up with that as a belief that was planted, but you can plant it now for yourself. You can make the choice to do it for you. And when you do, because anything planted in the subconscious mind, any seed planted, which is just a thought that you're thinking consistently, any seed planted in the subconscious mind must grow, must sprout, must move into form in your life. You will have that experience that money just is, that it's consistent, that it's stable, that it's easy. And that's something that I work with a lot of my high-end mastermind clients on as well. I was coaching one of my clients on this yesterday over text, and she has had such a quantum leap over the past year. But there was a feeling of, is it going to last? Is this stable? Is it safe? And we have to normalize and neutralize. I think I used those two words on another podcast recently. Normalize and neutralize these things as this is just natural in my life. This just is. So moving from the energy of, oh my gosh, I'm quantum leaping, I'm soaring, which is beautiful, to a place where it's also, hey, this is stable, this is consistent, this is normal for me, this feels grounded, this is expansive, it's who I am. That's the work there. And that's identity work. That's creating a much deeper identity shift where wealth is just part of who you are. So if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, that's never been my experience, my invitation for you would be to try that on for size, to say, okay, well, why not make that my belief? If this is something I want to experience in my life, then I'm going to try making that my belief. Now, let's talk about what it means to be in relationship with wealth. When I first read, I think it was You Are a Badass at Making Money, earlier on in my wealth consciousness journey. It's a great money book. I love to come back to it sometimes just because you always get something new out of these books when you go back. I remember her talking about wealth as a relationship and money as a relationship. And at the time, my pattern with money was kind of obsessive, very up and down. I had a lot of judgment on it. I never felt like there was enough. And I thought about, oh my gosh, if this was a human relationship in my life, how would my partner show up if this was my energy where I was like, I want you, but I'm ashamed to say that I want you. I'm judging the fact that I want you. I feel like there's never enough of you. Even when you're here, I feel like you're not here with me. I don't feel good enough without you. Am I going to attract an amazing love life and relationship through that with a partner? No, I'm going to attract a really messed up relationship. Well, money is neutral. Money is just a mirror of your energy towards it. So it's going to mirror that back to you. So you want to think about what would be the most amazing relationship that I could have with money? How would I love for it to feel? I would love for it to feel stable. I would love for it to feel expansive. I would love for it to always feel like it's there for me. I would love to feel really unbothered by it and like it's just there. It's just a given. It's just an assumption. Like there's always more than enough for what I want. Okay, how would you need to show up energetically around money for that to be the case then? What would that need to look like for you? You would need to be someone who's appreciative, right? You would need to be someone who feels worthy. You would need to be someone who isn't defined by whether it's there or not, because you know that who you are actually has nothing to do with the amount of money in the bank. It's just like I was coaching my 10K club clients yesterday on developing and cultivating an amazing wealth consciousness that helps you attract and draw in more of what you want. And we compared it to dating and we said, I want you to think about maybe a friend in high school or someone you knew, or maybe it was you who always seemed to attract the best relationships and always seemed to have just like a line of suitors waiting for her, waiting for him. And what's the energy and mindset of someone like that? They are self-confident. They're assured. They don't feel like they need it. They're not acting needy or desperate or clingy. right? They're in their power. They're like, I'm amazing. I feel really great in who I am and on my own. And if you want to come along with me and we can amplify each other, beautiful. Let's do it. I appreciate you. Let's go have fun together. But it's not desperation. It's not need or lack or want. It's merely an appreciative amplification of the power of the energy that's already there. I hope that makes sense, but that's how I think about it. And so just take a moment and think about, am I avoidant? Am I obsessive? Am I controlling or am I collaborating? Do I have fear with money or do I have trust with money? The other thing to be aware of is however you treat money is often how you treat intimacy, support, and power. So whatever relationships you find in your personal life, or in other relationships in your life that are important to you, you'll oftentimes find those get played out with money as well. You'll often also see mirrors in your relationships with men and money. If let's say that you're dating a man or you're married to a man or your partner, woman, gender doesn't matter, but you'll see mirrors and patterns, the same patterning in your relationship with your significant other or with the partners you attract, and the same with money. Why? Well, part of it is they're both based on relationships you had with your parents growing up. And so whatever patterns you learned, whether it's I don't deserve a lot, or I need to work really hard to get what I want, or I'm worthy of abuse or inconsistency, or whatever you learned growing up, you'll see that mirrored back in your patterns with both money and your significant other. So there's beautiful healing opportunities there to say, oh my gosh, I'm the source. This is not justifying negative treatment towards you, but it is a moment where we can be in our power and take control and say, it's my pattern, it's my psyche, it's my consciousness that's actually attracting and drawing these patterns I'm having again and again. If I want to change it, I need to go to the source, which is my belief system about who I am and what I deserve. So I want you to stop and think about, if wealth were a relationship in your life, how would you describe it right now? What would that look like? And that's going to give you a baseline to start building from, to start growing from. There's something that's an interesting pattern to look at, which is the attachment styles of money. So common patterns with attachment styles. I'm going to give you 3 here. Number 1 is avoidant. This is what I used to do all the time. Undercharging, which I didn't do as much, but I ignored the heck out of my finances. I was so afraid to log into my bank account. I was so nervous. I didn't want to look at it. I was head in the sand. That's avoidant attachment. Number 2, anxious attachment. And again, you're going to see these mirrored in your attachment patterns with your significant other or with those you date. Anxious attachment can look like obsessive checking, scarcity thinking. You're like, oh, is it going to be there? I don't know. Or disorganized attachment. That can look like maybe a big month followed by a crash. That's part of why we want to consistently say what was once my ceiling is now my new floor, and start to stabilize the frequency that you're at as you expand into the next. So you don't have that kind of like the roller coaster cycle that we can have. So money, your relationship with money reflects your nervous system patterns, not your worth. But you've got to decide that you are worthy of what it is that you desire, and then let the outer world reorganize to mirror that as well. You know, my relationship with money has shifted so much over the years from someone who, like I mentioned before, was very avoidant because I always felt like I was doing something wrong. I was always nervous. You know, I was working with a private client on this the other day, and she's a very successful woman in corporate. She's also launching her own business. And she talked about when it was time for her to do her taxes, her whole body would clench. And not that there was anything wrong with them, but it was like this anticipatory clench. And it was actually some patterns she inherited from her father, which she shared with me and we worked on. Around taxes, around fear with the money. And there had been so much that she had learned about, like, gosh, don't make too much because then you're going to owe more in taxes and it's not even worth it anyway, or you might be doing something wrong. And I could relate to all of those patterns because those were things I had learned in my own life that I got to really, really shift. But for so long, I would avoid doing things. I'd be scared to do something like my taxes. I'd be scared to look at my bank accounts. And there was always this energy of like punishment or, oh my gosh, I'm doing something wrong with it. And I think there was a lot of judgment because the way that I like to think about managing my money and the way I flow it is different from how maybe my parents would have or the people who I learned from early on. And what I've learned in that is that your guidance, you've got to look to yourself for guidance. It's beautiful to have professionals and people helping you in that. But you get to make your own money rules as well. I want to really affirm that to you. You get to decide what's true and right for you, how much you're going to call in, what you're going to circulate it on, and how. Those get to be your rules. And as long as you're in your power and you are moving according to desires, expansion, spiritual guidance with that, you can't go wrong. But I used to be, again, just so avoidant, so afraid, always afraid of doing something wrong, being punished. And one of the biggest changes in my life came, and this impacted a lot of areas, including my money, when I decided to trust myself wholeheartedly. And that's actually the core message of my brand now is trust yourself. And when I decided I'm going to trust myself, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I see that it doesn't work, until I get some proof that it's not getting me where I want to go. And I haven't gotten that proof or that evidence. And I've been doing this for quite some time now. But when I started saying I'm going to trust myself, suddenly clarity came, more flows came, more money came. And that's because I cultivated a different relationship in my life with both money and myself. So as you start to think about the patterns in your life with money, I want to ask you, what would change if you stopped chasing money and started relating to it, started allowing it to be a friend, a partner in your life? We did a meditation yesterday in the 10K Club, which is my signature group coaching program, where I helped my community move the energy of money from their root chakra, which is about safety and security, all the way up to their heart, which is about expansion, love, joy, giving. And when we move the energy of it and stop making it mean our security and safety, because at a soul level, it is not your security and safety. It's a tool, a method of further expressing yourself on the planet, of exchange, of connecting with others, of living your fullest expression. That's beautiful, but it's not your security and safety, not on a soul level. So we help them move the energy up to the heart. And from that place, your relationship with money is so different. It becomes one of circulation. It becomes one of love. It becomes one of contribution, of giving, of joy. And I want to encourage you as you listen to this to really think about making that shift in your life, in your patterns, and in your relationship with wealth. So let's talk about briefly before we wrap for today, cultivating a healthy relationship with money and with wealth. Number one, let's give you some practical practices to do. With your money, I want you to practice, number one, remembering that whatever you're seeing in your bank account right now, on the credit card, in the observed world, that is an outpicturing of your old consciousness. It's only going to continue if you continue thinking of it and emotionalizing it the way that you are now. So if you have, let's say you've got a certain amount of debt that you've got some sort of judgment on, every time you look at it, if you look at it and you feel that same judgment and you feel shame and you feel constriction because of the observer effect in quantum physics, because whatever it is that we focus on expands, you're going to keep getting more of that. But what if you said, the truth is that this is paid off. The truth is that this is a beautiful way that I was able to invest in myself for coaching or buy the new clothes that I was desiring or whatever it is, and get yourself into a beautiful state with it and then say, and I know that right now, me observing the balance doesn't mean that it's actually there in truth, in what I'm going to observe next and where I'm going next. The truth is it's paid off. The truth is it's cleared. The truth is it's done. Thank you so much. That's just an observation of past thinking, all right? And to get yourself out of any sort of shame or guilt and instead get yourself into celebration, get yourself into gratitude, get yourself into appreciation of what it did for you. Let the energy flow. Let the money flow there. It will move much more easily, and you'll find that you pay it off way faster from that energy than from one of judgment. So when you do your financial check-ins, or for me, I call it my money flow sessions. I don't love the phrase money management. I don't love anything that feels like judgment or just not fun with that. So I call it my money flow sessions because I like the money that's come in. I flow it, I circulate it to different things. It feels exciting and expansive and fun to be able to do it. And so that's how I think about it. And I always have a running list of what I'm doing next with, I've got an account that I call Abundance, which is like only for fun things to do. It could be a gift for someone. It could be jewelry, a new bag. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's a lot of home upgrades for me right now too, because that's part of what I'm having fun with. But I love flowing the money and looking forward to what's coming, as well as appreciating what I've already done. So with your financial check-ins, be in the energy of, I am observing right now my past level of thinking and consciousness. Okay, I'm going to move the energy with what I can there. And simultaneously, I'm going to send a new message out into the quantum field. I am thinking about a certain amount of abundance in my accounts. I am thinking about maybe this card paid off or that obligation paid off. I also want you to have celebration and gratitude without any sort of guilt. Whatever wins come through, like as I record this, I just got a check in the mail that was right about the same amount as a brand new pair of shoes that I bought that for the old version of me would have been a real stretch. For the current version of me, the new version of me, they're like, yes, this is natural and normal and beautiful, and I appreciate them, but they're far more than my parents probably would have ever spent on that. And so I've gotten to recalibrate my nervous system around that. But once I flowed the money in celebration and fun, literally the next day, my dad, or that night, it might have even been that night, he texts me and he says, hey, we got a check in the mail for you. And they live in a different state. And I've got to go back and check exactly what I paid for the shoes, but it's right about, I'm looking at it right now. I just deposited it. It's right about what the amount of the shoes was, which is so fun. Like, you can't make this stuff up, but it's real. So I was in celebration with the shoes. I was in an energy of fun. I was in an energy of course, like, this is so fun. This is so great. That's when we open up to greater flow and to a more expansive relationship with money as well. You also get to set beautiful boundaries with work, with clients, with energy. I was coaching a client yesterday who had been renegotiating her prices depending on who she was speaking with. And if it was someone who she didn't think had the money to hire her, she would lower it. And we talked about that's the work. Like, you have to own your worth. And if you are a coach, a consultant, a service provider, or maybe you're in corporate sales, but if a certain amount of money doesn't feel good to you, if you're about to discount and it doesn't feel good and it's just to try to get a certain client on. I don't like that energy. And what I told her was, you've got to own it. You've got to own your worth. Let other people rise up to your level. The people who quote unquote can't afford you, they can watch your social media, they can listen to your podcast, but you do not bend and waver and adjust who you are to try to accommodate someone else. Your real power comes when you own who you are, when you know who you are, when you hold that consistently, and you don't let other people shift that. And this is something I used to really struggle with. I would have such a hard time setting boundaries in both my professional and my personal life. And I'm proud to say at this point, I think I'm a woman who's really good at it. And I've gotten way more comfortable with it. I used to be so uncomfortable with it. But I am a woman who now, if something isn't working for me or if something is crossing a boundary, I will verbalize it. I will state it. I will move the energy there. I'll communicate it in love to the other person. And I'll let the relationship or the scenario shift to be what it needs to be. But I've learned that the more I'm true to me, the more everything in my life becomes the way I desire it to be. Right? And that is the guide. And so you get to set boundaries around what is not true to you. You get to set boundaries and say, no, I won't take on a client for this amount, or no, this doesn't feel good to me. So that's part of shifting your relationship with wealth as well, and with money as well. The bottom line here is a regulated relationship with money creates regulated growth. And part of how we regulate our relationship with money is regulating our relationship with ourselves, knowing who you are, knowing what your life, your ideal life requires, creating a beautiful relationship where you know the value of what you bring to the marketplace, whether you're in corporate sales or you're an entrepreneur, and then knowing and trusting and being available to receive what is meant for you in ways that you could have never imagined. That is the work. And when we do that and we consistently pour into and work on our relationship with money from a place of appreciation and gratitude rather than fear or scarcity, everything will start to shift. Everything will start to shift. So wealth doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to presence. And I hope you'll take some of what we talked about today and some of what you learned and really be present with it and start to be more present with the money flowing through your life, appreciate, bless, and multiply everything that's there, every sale that comes through, every unexpected check in the mail. And you'll find that you start to really embody abundance to the point where it is normal and natural, and you can't imagine life without it because it just is who you are. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love to connect with you further. Please send me a DM. At the time of this recording, I have 1 or 2 spots open for private coaching, and then I'm full for about probably the next 4+ months. And I've got a couple different people I'm talking to about it right now. So if you want to really go deeper in your relationship with wealth, if you're someone with big goals, big dreams, big aspirations, and you're like, let's go, I want a quantum leap this year, I would love to talk with you about working with you privately. Send me a DM and I can send you my application, and we will grow and ascend your business and your life together in ways you could not have imagined. I want to thank you as always for listening. Please remember to leave a review of the show wherever you're listening to it. I would so appreciate it. It helps get the word out. Share the episode. Tag me on social. I'm at Elyse Archer on all platforms. I want to hear what's showing up for you. I want to connect with you online. And please subscribe so that you make sure to not miss what's coming next, because it is so, so good. As we close, I want to remind you to trust yourself on your path to success. Remember that your desires are green lights, leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future. I'll see you on our next episode.